Yeah. Um, so Darian, elephant in the room. Uh, webcam, busy. Uh, 1 second. Say it again. I
I
said,
have I have my new surgery, my next surgery scheduled.
so no webcam because you have your surgery scheduled.
No, I said no webcams. I got to climb and get my shit set up.
Oh, we had two people ask, two subscribers to the channel want to know what you look like.
They can see what I look like.
It's an outdated photo.
They
What
want
do
to
you?
see my asshole
Well, I mean,
or
uh,
my assholes plural.
yeah, you're plural. So give me. Okay, so those of you watching, welcome to the show. I'm Drake. I'm Jake.
I'm Drake.
Actually, I'll be Drake today. So Drake has a webcam, but welcome to the Jake and Drake show. Um, so we established. I was it like 4 weeks, 5 weeks ago. You're laying like this. How are you laying?
Is in real is in awkward positions. I've got my neck surgery is scheduled. That is
Next.
supposed that is supposed to fix everything, or finally fix everything, so I can actually sit upright comfortably.
Okay, how about this? How about this? Take a updated picture and make that your photo for next week. Then let's have like some common ground here, sir. Just a little bit, just a little bit common ground. New picture. You
Look the same, just a longer beard.
okay? We'll post it. We've been looking at the same photo of you since like December. God damn, man, it's May. I don't even get that much convalescence in the army. But well, shit. So can we do that? Just update a photo.
We'll see. Probably not.
We'll see. God, dude. Um. Well, ladies and gentlemen, he said we'll see. I'll put a little pressure on him on the side. Uh, do anything exciting this week?
Nope, not really. Fucked up my leg with a new exercise, and that took me out for a couple days. But yeah. Fortunately, that was just a muscular injury. That it wasn't like I fucked up my back again or anything. It was
Mm-hmm.
just too much strain on my leg that wasn't used to it.
So this is your fault? Or is this your physical therapist's fault?
A little of both. I don't think I was ready for that exercise. And then I did it wrong. So
Is it
uh,
weighted or is it body weight?
it was body weight. It was using like a slider thing and uh, what do they call them? I don't know. This like little plastic disc that I slid my good leg out under and would like essentially squat on my bad leg.
Yeah.
But it felt like it was tearing and was really fucking bad.
So was it the front of your leg or the back of your leg?
All along the like that nerve path, which
Well,
had me worried, thinking it was something with the nerve again, but it's not.
mm, mm, well, shit. So neck surgery is in the works. I didn't know it was neck. I thought it was back surgery.
No. Next,
Oh,
next.
next. All right, I was like neck surgery, bro. It sounds like neck surgery. Uh, okay. Well, good luck with that. So you didn't do anything this week.
Not a whole hell of a lot. I
You
mean,
should see about getting like some medicinal marijuana. I think you could. I think you could get away with that.
not in Idaho.
There's no marijuana at all.
Nope, not in Idaho.
Oh man, I thought you guys were a really great state, dude.
We are for everything else.
Medicinal marijuana would be nice. telling you, it'd be nice. Just smoke a little, relax. How's your diet coming along?
Getting tired of chicken.
Oh, what do you chicken and rice, chicken and veg?
Veggies.
What about
I'm trying to
eggs?
cut back the rice. I still have eggs in the morning.
Still got a lot
Do
of
like do turkey sausage and eggs or whatever in the morning.
yeah.
I did find this chicken sausage, which is pretty decent.
Is it lean? Like you check the macros on it?
Relatively, yeah.
Yeah, well that's good. Chicken sausage, never heard of it. It's just ground chicken with some pork in it or something.
Nope, just the chicken. It's
Mm.
like a chicken apple sausage.
Mm. Yeah. So diet's going well. Rehab is kind of, eh.
No, rehab's still going pretty well. It just had a little setback on Monday that kind of put me out almost all week. It was Friday's training appointment that she ended up using a Theragun on my leg, and it fucking hurt like a mother, but it felt better the next day. So
It's a concentrated heat gun or something.
no, it's like a vibrator, but it's a jackhammer.
Mm-hmm.
So it just kind of like jackhammered my leg, and seemed to help quite a bit.
Yeah, I've seen those before. Seen them advertised. It's got like a rubber ball, like half of a rubber ball at the end, and then it's got the piston into the.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe you should buy one of those. Then you don't have to rely on her.
Well, I didn't realize that that's what would fix it.
Mm.
I may actually get one.
Yeah. Mm. How's your extended family? Talked about family
Same old.
last week.
Yeah, same old.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, I guess that wraps it up. What the fuck did I do this week? I sold.
Clean up shit.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I'll try to take it up from the top. We started doing the new army. I mean, we didn't start. So let me back it up. You're in the army. You got this thing. It's called like the Army Body Composition Program. So the army decides that you're this tall and you're male or you're female, and you're this tall, you're male or female. This is how much you should weigh, right? So I think for as tall as I am, the army says the most I can weigh is like 169. And I've pretty much been over that since my second year in the army. So then they do a tape test where you get your waist taped a couple times and your neck taped a couple times, and then they just kind of loosely calculate your body fat percentage, and then depending on your age and your sex, you get allotted body fat. So we had 2 tape tests, and not everybody was doing what they should have been doing. We're like a senior organization. We have a lot of higher enlisted, and we have a lot of officers, and you would think they would be doing the right thing. If you're not exercising, then watch what you eat. But we had like 8 people fail, and then we did another one, and we had 9 people fail. So now we have to do organized PT again, which puts a cramp in my plans, like going to the gym and shit. And now we're doing the Army Combat Fitness Test. You ever seen that thing?
Not offhand.
Thing. I'm not gonna say it's easy. It's just it sucks. It's if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, it's relatively easy to pass. I mean, it's hard to max, hard to get 100%, but to get like the 60% or the 70%, whatever the passing is. But yeah, it's just a giant pain in the dick. It really is. I'm not a fan of it. The only thing I liked about it was that it normalized the sexes. It normalized it to like the old physical training, the Army physical fitness test. It gave women a lower scale. It like shifted the scale downwards. So women needed on the same events push-ups, my age, I would need, I don't know, let's say 52 to pass. A female would need 18. And then sit ups, it would be the same because they say that women have relatively stronger ab or relatively the same abs. So if I had to do 54, they had to do 54. And then on the 2 mile run, my minimum might be like, let's say it was like 17:45. They had damn near 20 minutes to complete the 2 mile run. And the longest time, like, and at the same time on the other end of the scale, if I wanted to max my push ups, I would have to do push ups at, so minimum was like, say, 52, and then the maximum for my age would be like 74. And then a woman would have to do maybe 40 to max. Sit ups, she would have to do about the same to max as I would. And then the run to max, she would have to, like, for me to max, I'd have to do 2 miles in 13 minutes and 30 seconds. And she would have to do it in like 15:45. So there's a significant difference, right? And I guess if you're looking at like physical prowess between the sexes, like we understand, at least I think most of us have a firm grasp of physiology between male and female. But when you're looking at like functionality in the military,
Well, it depends on what position you're in too. I mean, I can see, a set standard for combat units. This is what it is, period, and so on.
sure.
But for support units and things like that, I don't see it as big of a deal.
Right, but the units themselves took care of that. So for example, I am in a maintenance company, and the maintenance company, they're going off of 60% because that's all you need to pass. But you could end up being in like a platoon, right? This is interesting. So you could be in a platoon where you make a 60%, you pass, they can't do paperwork to chapter you out of the army, get rid of you because you're passing by army standard, but they can make your life miserable. They can say, Darian, we want you at 80%. And so they can give you a lawful order to do more PT or to try harder. Because some people just don't try. That's 60. I'm at 60% and they get up. And I'm at 60 and they get up. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, that's what the Army says the minimum is, then okay. But you do have units, especially like combat arms, where if you score anything below 80%, then they're just going to make your life miserable, which they can do. They can't kick you out of the Army, but they can make your life miserable. So what the new one is, and this is what I've been saying all along, is, you go to talk to this recruiter, they make you take a test, they see how smart you are, and then they give you a list of jobs. And it's like, this is what you can pick from. And then, of course, if you can get a security clearance, then maybe you got some more jobs you can pick from. So you go to MEPS, and I don't know if they do it anymore because I'm a relic. I'm kind of ancient now as far as military is concerned. But you had to like bend over and pick up a 50-pound box. And that 50-pound box is like one of the standards. They call it like a one-man lift. So if you and I were out in the field and there was a 100-pound box that we had to move, it was a two-man lift. So we both had to lift it, right? You could probably lift it yourself, but that box being over 50 pounds was considered a two-man, maybe a three-man, depending on, the increment of 50. And it usually says on those boxes, 4-man lift, 3-man lift, 2-man lift, whatever. But that's the standard. The standard was if the female, she passed her security clearance or did really well, passed the ASVAB, whatever, and then she got to MEPS and she was physically incapable of lifting the 50-pound box, they wouldn't take her because obviously there's like a physical limitation there, right? It's just, okay, well, thank you for trying. You can come back in 2 years. And, it could be muscular, it could be skeletal, muscular, something of that nature. But what I did like about the new ACFT standard was it put men and women on the same chopping block, essentially. So you and I were in combat. You get shot. You're in full kit. Kevlar, weapon, vest, elbow pads, knee pads, boots. and I have to be able to pick you up and move you out of harm's way, and then perform combat casualty care. Well, some people can't do that, male and female, right? And so they took the focus of the APFT. The APFT was more like endurance, like doing push-ups for 2 minutes, doing sit-ups for 2 minutes, running for 2 miles, and they kind of like did this CrossFit shit to where there's a lot more explosive muscle involved, I guess. And if you've known it, if you know anything about the army, like those guys that usually score consistently on 300s, they're not really beefy guys. They're either like SF Ranger guys, and all they do is PT, and they don't have to do any of the other bullshit in the army. Like, their job is to combat, right? You have 11 Bravos. Their job is to combat. It's just a little different than Ranger and SF. But the rest of us, like, we got combats, we got wrench turning, we got training, we got all sorts of shit we got to do. And, we got to fix other people's vehicles, and we got to train on our own shit. And so you take this standard where you bring it down to the 50-pound box, which I like. So it doesn't matter if you're male, doesn't matter if you're female, doesn't matter if you're 18, doesn't matter if you're 60. The day that you cannot pick up that box, you got to get out. Right? That's how it started off. So it started off as a way to screen people, because the Army realizes that as we start to bring more and more women into the Army, and most importantly into combat arms jobs, they need to be able to physically perform. And just a sidebar, you remember there was like some female that passed like the Ranger physical test. Well, unbeknownst to the public, they dropped the standard so she could pass. So that's something I kind of like, dude. Like, if you can do it with the boys, then good. If you can't, then I'm sorry. But they dropped the standard so she could pass, because I guess it was more important that we have somebody in a Ranger battalion that's a female than someone that's capable of doing the job. It kind of goes to like, I don't know if, I know you don't want to do current events, but real quick, you remember there was like the airline, I don't know if it was Delta or who it was, they were like, yeah, we're going to be more inclusive in our hiring process for pilots. And it's like, yeah, I appreciate that. That's great that you want to make it inclusive, but I'd rather just have someone that can fly the damn plane. I give a fuck what they are, what they do in their but like hiring people, focusing on like affirmative action, I think is the wrong thing. I've always thought it was the wrong thing.
Well,
So,
well, I'm opposed to affirmative action in general, but um, in situations where, like combat situations, there should be just a flat standard. Period. These are the qualifications. If a man can do it, then they qualify to be the Ranger. If a woman can do it, then they qualify to be the Ranger, and that is that. Because
agreed.
just like the firefighter standard, you don't want to drop the qualifications because that person who can't lift whatever, who passes anyway, because of lowered qualifications, can't haul you out of the building when it's burning or whatever. So that kind of stuff, absolutely not. I mean, other things like, okay, well, you don't have to have whatever high score or whatever scores. It's not a big deal. If you're in my opinion anyway, for like the maintenance units and things like that. But combat units especially, that's something that should not be fucked with.
I agree. So consequently, they have this new regiment, this kind of somewhat loosely modeled after the Marine Corps. But the Marine Corps did it differently. What the Marine Corps did is they have their physical fitness test, which is one thing, and then they have their combat fitness test, which is another. And I think the way the Marines did it, like I don't dislike the Marines. I'll give them a thumbs up when they deserve it, which is not often. But what they did is that this test is a standalone test. It has nothing to do with your physical fitness in the Marine Corps. What it is it's part of your combat combat arms training. So everybody gets like the warrior task drills, right? React to direct fire, react to indirect fire, dismounted patrol, clearing buildings. There's all these. So on top of the 11 bang bangs and all the other people that do that shit, people that don't do that shit, like 42 alphas, the clerks, civil affairs, like they're supposed to be training on this. Everybody is supposed to be able to know what to do in these situations. And there's a huge book. It's a manual about this big. And every week you're supposed to go through, usually Thursdays, it's called Sergeant Time Training. And you're supposed to have it on the training calendar. And this week from, 08 until 1500 minus a 30-minute lunch, we'll be doing this training. And, you got to get training aids, you got to get some land and blah, blah. Some of the training's relatively easy. It's just classroom. Maybe you might do like some IED training, like identifying telling factors of IED emplacement, and then some of it you actually have to get out in the sticks and do. And so that's what the Marines did, is that is their training like that. So they do it that way. But what the Army's trying to do is they're just trying to overhaul the whole physical fitness test period. So the physical fitness test is completely different in the Marine Corps from the actual training that you have to know to just be in the Marine Corps. But the Army wants to take it to the next level. Fine, let's play the next level. Now, as you were saying earlier, you have the different tiers based on your job. So obviously, if you're an admin clerk, if you're dental, if you're a medic, your shit's going to be, I think it's 70%. I think it is. Don't quote me. 70% of the max is the minimum for that. Then it's 80, and then 90, or it might be 60, 70, 80. I don't know. The shit changes all the time. So if you are an office dweller, you only need to do 60% to stay in. If you are a moderate combat arms, like let's say you're a mechanic that normally gets assigned to heavy brigades, then you would be at moderate. Like you're not actually out there in the sticks with the guys, but you're fixing their vehicles, and you could be in that situation. So you need to be able to blah, right? And then actually, if you're full combat arms, you're at the top tier. Now that's how it initially started off. I think because of the failure rates of these events, they've kind of dropped the standards. So they had all these high aspirations, and I was happy. I was happy because it was holding everybody accountable to the same standard. Like, I didn't like how I could think of, and I don't think of any, like, because there's men that are weak and there's women that are strong. I think we can both agree on that. Like, there's probably some women that can, outfuck some men, out-ruck some men, out-hump some men, out-shoot some men. It's, it's what it is, right? I mean, it's a volunteer force. We don't draft people. People come in on their own volition. So you go to you go to war with the army you have, not the one you want. And this is the standard. Boom. You need to be able to do this many deadlifts, because I think the first event is a deadlift. The next event is a ball toss. Then there is a push-up, and it's not regular push-up. You have to, like, push up, come down, then you have to, like, make a crucifix, come back, push up. Then you got to do so many of those. The ball toss, to me, is, like, it's pretty hard because I just don't know the angle. I can throw it really far. It's between your legs, and you have to throw it over your head. Whatever. Then there's a sled drag, and that one fucking sucks. It's a 90-pound sled. So you start off in the prone position. You push yourself up. You run 50 meters, excuse me. Your feet and your hand touch. You come back, and you pick up the sled, and you backpedal 50 yards, go around the cone, backpedal another 50 yards to the start line. You let go of the sled, then you shuffle facing one direction 50 yards, shuffle back facing the same direction 50 yards. Then you pick up 2 kettlebells, which are supposed to simulate like ammo cans, 45-pound kettlebells, and then you ruck them 50 yards, and then you come back another 50 yards. You have to set them down. If you throw them or you drop them, you're disqualified. Or I think you have to pick them up and set them down again. I don't know. And then you sprint down 50 and 50, and that's your time. That one sucks. Then you have to do, and this is the one that's changed quite a bit. You have to do a leg tuck. So you have to get up on a pull-up bar. You have to slightly flex your elbows, and you have to take your knees and pull them up, like up to your elbows, and then down again straight, and then up. And I think the minimum used to be 2. Then they dropped the minimum to 1. And now they're at a point where there are men and women that can't do. I don't know how. I don't know how. I really don't. Men and women that can't do one of those. So now they changed it. If you have to announce before the event that you want to do the plank or you want to do the leg tuck. So if you choose to do the plank, you have to plank in place for 2 minutes, which that's not fun. I'd rather do the leg tucks. Then after that, you have a 2-mile run. So if you ask me, and because I'm all for inclusion, but I'm also all for people being qualified. And I don't think we should just let everybody in. Like, okay, we need a transgender Native American Eastern Indian guy for this position, or we need a gay black female for this position. Like, no, can you do the job? Do you have the credentials? Do you know what you're doing? That kind of thing. But it was looking really good because you had a 20% fail rate initially with the men on the ACFT, and it was funny. You had an 80%, just about 80% fail rate of women on this same fitness test, and so consequently, like, people were up in arms. It's too hard, and it's like, well, for one, the Army's giving you 2 years to do this. So right now, the only thing the Army is doing is you're getting scored on it. It's getting uploaded into the training management system, and they're looking at the numbers, and I guess they're adjusting the test. Nobody can get kicked out of the Army for failing that test. But I feel like, for one, I feel like it's a good thing that they equalized age and they equalized sex. But I also feel like they should just do that to the regular Army physical fitness test. Like, there was nothing really wrong with it, okay? It is archaic. It probably could have been changed. Maybe add pull-ups to it. I don't know. But the cool thing about the Army physical fitness test was, because it was just push-ups, sit-ups, and a run, you needed, like, no equipment at all. You needed one of those roller tapes to measure out distance. You know, if you were in Kazakhstan, like, you just measure out 1 mile, you know, and so down and back. It's a 2-mile run. Other than that, just do push-ups and sit up in place, and you got a stopwatch, and you got a piece of paper. But this shit here, you need hex deadlift bars, you need weights for the deadlifts, you need weights for the sleds, you need kettlebells, you need 10-pound medicine balls, you need a pull-up bar. The logistics of this thing it's something else, because if you have a standard battery or company size element, you have a giant 20-foot steel container full of this equipment, and you have to deploy with that, because this is like something you should be able to do in theater. Like, that's what big Army is saying. So I don't know. Your take, sir.
I already gave my take, which is, as long as they can meet the standards in a combat unit, then they should be fine. And they shouldn't be lowering the standards for combat units, because lives depend on that shit.
Right. Well, what about, do you think, I mean, I like getting people's opinion. Like, unlike some people, I know not everybody's in the Army, Navy, Marines. I actually value civilian input on this stuff. Even though I may not agree with it, I still value it. It gives me a different perspective. I'm not like that, well, you didn't serve and you have, like, I think you have every right, especially since you pay my salary, dude. So what about, like I said initially, with the Marines? Like, the Marines still kept theirs, but they instituted this combat fitness test as part of, like, their regular training. It's not, you see what I'm saying? It's two separate things. You have Marine physical fitness test. It's push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, 3-mile run.
Like, it's okay. maybe I shouldn't say combat unit. Just as far as like the front line cannon fodder, which I'm sorry, that's what most are. Then it's not as critical. Um, I mean, it's still important, obviously, but you don't want your average computer geek, who doesn't get outside trying to do that shit. But for the special units and things like that are going to be tasked with special assignments, going in, grabbing people, going on the hostage rescues, things like that. That's the kind of stuff where they need to have a set standard period, leave it.
Mm.
I mean, I mean, there's by first of all, if they want to really see equality in the military, then they need to start drafting women too,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure that would go over well, or at least make them sign up for selective service.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but no, I mean, for just your average Joe grunt, as long as they can do the basic, march and carry their ruck and you know dig a hole to shit in, so be it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I do think there should be. I do think the tier system, depending on the job, is important. Like you said, like the computer geek's probably not going to be cannon fodder. If he has to be cannon fodder, things are pretty bad. Um, but I think even the female computer geeks, the male and the female computer geek should have the same standard. The male and the female infantry should have the same standard. I think that's very important because you have to be able to pick somebody up and drag them. You have to be able to carry ammo cans. You have to be able to carry the spare barrels for a 50 cal or a Mark 19, or there's a lot of things that require, especially with the grunts, like upper body strength, and women are lacking in that by genetics. Just just lacking. I mean, there's men that lack that, but not because of genetics. They have the potential more so than their female counterpart would have. It's just that maybe they didn't apply themselves. Yeah. So yeah, that was just my tangent about having to do this physical fitness test and having to do it again and train for it. And it's funny is because I don't train for it. I don't. I go to the gymnasium. I pick up heavy things. I put them down, and I do all right. And I do all right more so than anybody else does. And I don't even know if anybody's training for it, but I just go to the gym, pick up heavy things, put them down. That's what I do, and it works for me. And I eat the best I can. You know. Speaking of that, I can smell rice cooking. Yeah. So, what else did I do this
Not
week?
that, but not that it's not important. Picking up heavy things is not important. Uh, wouldn't you say cardio would be more important than picking up heavy things?
Not in today's army. Maybe like World War II, Korean War. Like everybody's got vehicles. Everybody's got vehicles, and you have a lot more kit. So you've got body armor, you've got a helmet, you've got a weapon, you've got boots, you got knee pads, you got elbow pads, you got eye pro, you've got your mask, and then you have your rucksack or your assault pack and your field load and 7 magazines of 30 rounds of 5.56 ball. So the cardio part, like, it's important, but it's not as important because most of the cardio you're going to be doing is sprinting from one area to another. It's not, I mean, unless you're airborne and you guys are still training for that airborne mentality of like dropping down somewhere and wrapping your chute up and getting your kit and then shuffling to the next zone or wherever the rendezvous point is, depending on where the drop zone was. Like, yeah, okay, that's important, but again, that's job specific. Everybody's got vehicles, whether they have tanks, armored personnel carriers, up armored Humvees, LMTVs. Everybody's got a vehicle, And training for cardio, it's great and all, but if you're running 2 miles in PT's, your physical training uniform, but when you're in the field, you have your uniform on, which adds like 7 pounds. Then you put on a Kevlar, then you put on a vest, and then you carry a rifle, and then you have your flick with your full magazine loadout, and then you have an assault pack or you have a rucksack. Like,
Well,
doesn't.
okay, maybe saying cardio is probably not the best way of putting it, but the endurance training where you you run
Mm,
with your pack and things like that.
mm-hmm,
Uh, you know, that they've got that whole go ruck thing I did in the past was basically you have a 40-pound weight in your backpack
mm-hmm.
and you go tromping around for 20 miles.
Yeah, we do that. We do that. We're supposed to do that annually. That's part of that. That
But it isn't that more important than being able to lift.
it. Okay. Let me back up. So, the standard is I think you have to do 12 miles in 4 hours. That's the standard for rucking. So you have about 35, 40 pounds of shit. Like they'll weigh your ruck, and you got your rifle, you got your helmet, you got usually it's your rifle, your vest, and your helmet, and then a rucksack with 30 pounds. That's usually what a unit standard is, and you have to ruck 12 miles in 4 hours. So basically, that's what 1 mile.
3 miles an hour.
Yeah, yeah. Excuse me, 1 hour or 3 miles, which is doable, but you really got to step it out, right? And as you step it out, you realize that it is a lot of endurance training, but not to put that past anything, but that is also a lot of strength training. You do have to develop back, shoulder, upper body muscles because you're going to be carrying that rifle, and they expect you to carry that rifle at the low ready. That's how you're trained to do it. I mean, you could get like that clip to help out, but you still have to carry that rifle. You still got to carry that Kevlar. Like you still have to physically carry weight. And I think the thing you're talking about, like those 20 miles, I've seen that. That's like the Baton Death March kind of thing. That's that's totally optional. There's people that do that. I think it's crazy. I'm glad they do it, but I don't know. I'm past my prime doing that. But would it be endurance? I think it'd be a little bit of both, but I wouldn't classify that as like historical army endurance. Historical army endurance is what's your 2 mile like, what's your 4 mile like. Because there's some units that have their unit standard. Again, they can't kick you out of the army for it, but they can make your life miserable. You need to be able to run 4 miles in 36 minutes. So you got to maintain a 9 minute mile pace the entire time. So would I put that? Yeah, Darian, you're correct, but historically, no, not by Army standards. Army standards would be 2 mile, 4 mile. You know what I'm saying? Yes, no, maybe.
Yeah, I just think endurance would be more important than being able to lift.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with you. What I will say is that there is a lack of the strength, period, in today's soldier. So when I was at Lee, that's where all the cherries come in from basic. Well, the
Well,
cherry.
I would say though there's a lack of strength in today's world. Humans have gotten complacent and dependent on technology and things.
Sure. Just like we were talking about last week, like nobody got kicked outside their house all day and had to exercise and drink water out of a spigot. Totally agree. And that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing kids out of basic training that they're really good runners, and I have to teach them how to, like, okay, you got a PT test next week. Okay, so I have the guys that are, I got like a small squad of guys that are taking a PT test next week to graduate AIT. and I have them show me how they're doing their push-ups or their sit-ups, and I've seen them. Like I've ran with them. They can run. They are enduranced, but they have no push-up strength. They have no ab strength, and that's normally what you see is like, so example, you, back when you were 18, you weighed significantly less, so maybe your conditioning was just as bad as it is now, assuming it's bad for this example, but you weighed less. So you had less mass to carry. And because you have less mass to carry, when it comes time to lifting that box that requires a four-man lift, but there's only two of you, that might be a problem. When it comes time for you guys to do a unit ruck march, and you have to carry, you're in a you're part of a crew serve weapon crew. You have the guy actually shooting the weapon, then you have you're carrying the spare barrels, and then you have someone else carrying the ammunition, because that's a lot of fucking weight, and you're dropping out at 9 miles. Like, is that an endurance issue, or is that maybe a strength issue? I mean, it could be both, but I can tell you from what I've seen from today's soldiers, not all of them, but the ones that I saw that were concerning, was there was just a lack of muscular skeletal development is what I'm trying to say. So I think the Army's kind of shifting focus. They're not getting away from the cardio, but it's like, hey, maybe we place too much emphasis on cardiovascular endurance. Maybe it's important that you're able to lift things too. Maybe it's not as important all the time, but when you need to be able to do it, you need to be able to do it. It's like when you need to be able to pick up a fallen comrade, when you need to be able to ruck 12 miles with two barrels, and then your battle buddy who's also on that crew serve weapon team, he or she's suffering. So you're like, you know what? Hey, dude, take my M4. Let me get that. Let me get that Mark Deuce. Let me get that Mark 19. You got to be able to do that. And there's a lot of people that can't. Like I remember in basic, I think it was a running tradition of drills to always give the smallest person in the squad the biggest weapon. Like everybody I talked to, that seemed to be like the norm. And I guess the idea was giving the smallest person in the squad the weapon was supposed to like help beef them up or develop muscles, which it may not. I don't think there's any science to prove or disprove that, but the endurance is very important, more so than the muscles. But if you don't have the muscles and you need the muscles, you're fucked. But if you don't have the endurance, probably not as fucked, because like I said, you don't do a lot of sprinting. You don't do a lot of like extended running. You're sprinting from concealment to concealment, some cover to cover. You're popping up. I'm up. He sees me. I'm down. You're leapfrogging. Not a lot of extreme endurance involved in that. Like you're getting a breather. Boom, 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 boom. Cover me while I move. I got you covered. Boom, 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 boom. And he's going, I'm up. They see me. I'm down. Cover me while I move. I got you covered. So I don't know. It's interesting. I think we probably wouldn't be going this route if we didn't have the same caliber of, if we had the same caliber of soldiers voluntarily joining the Army as we did when I was in. Not saying everybody was yoked, because I definitely wasn't yoked. I don't even think I'm yoked now. But we may not even be at this crossroads where we're inventing this 6-event physical training test to weed people out of the service. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think your limited knowledge?
I don't know, man. I was colorblind when I went to MEPS and found out I was colorblind. That was a disappointment for me.
Did you pick up the box?
Nope. I did do push-ups and a bunch of other stuff. Push-ups, pull-ups, and things like that.
Are you enjoying the Marines?
Navy.
Navy. Okay. Yeah. You were gonna be a seaman.
I wanted to
uh.
go. My hope was to go into the EOD program, and I had done the physical training stuff prior to it to qualify for dive farer. I had a dive farer recruiter come out and meet with me. My recruiter contacted the dive farer recruiter, and then they were there at MEPS, and I had a different like qualifications and stuff I had to do, but it was the color blindness that fucked me. I
Did
guess
you
they don't want people who are colorblind cutting wires underwater.
did you know you were colorblind?
Mm-mm.
Oh, you didn't?
Nope.
How old were you?
17.
Had you had experience like scuba diving or shit like that before?
Nope.
Hmm. So you just randomly wanted that job.
Yep.
Okay.
I liked playing with things that made booms when I was younger.
So hypothetically, you got into the Navy. Did you do 20? Did you do more? Did you do less?
Would I? I don't know. I don't try to think about that too much because where I'm at now. In fact, I talked about it with my wife, and where I'm at now, we wouldn't be here if I had gone in. I've kind of identified several points in my life that if things had happened differently at this point, that would have altered everything. And
Hmm.
Navy was one of them. I was really disappointed at the time, and they tried their fucking hardest to get me to go into something else, but I was pretty dead set on that.
So they gave you other jobs you could join being colorblind, and you wouldn't take them.
Nope.
Yeah. So I see where this obstinance is coming from.
Well, no, I mean the whole purpose of joining was because I wanted to go into EOD.
Hmm.
It wasn't that I had a hard on for joining the military. It
Hmm.
was I wanted to do this particular job.
What was the fascination with EOD, and is the fascination still there?
Yeah, like I said, when I was younger, I liked making things go boom.
Do they Do they not have combat engineers? They're just guys that roll out and plant C4 and blow shit up.
That wasn't the same. I wanted to play with like the diffusals and stuff like that.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, my old man was in the Navy. He was a jet fueler on a carrier of some sort. My mom was not a medic. She was a nurse in the Air Force. Grandpa was, I don't know what he was. One grandpa was in the Army. The other grandpa was in the Army Air Corps. I got an uncle that was in the Army. I got an uncle that was in the Navy. I have an aunt that was in the Navy. And her husband was in the Marine Corps. I have a cousin that was in the Marine Corps. I have a cousin that's in the Army Guard. I had a cousin that was in the Air Force Guard or Air Guard or some shit like that. So there's a lot of military in my family. I'm assuming that you were one of the few. You were going to be one of the few.
It was my grandfather who was
He was in what, the Army?
Navy.
Mm, yeah, yeah. I think best and worst times of my life. Where would I be? I don't know. Probably still living in a 50-mile radius within my parents. Probably wouldn't be as financially stable, successful. Probably would have had some bad habits. I think by the time I had reached my fourth year, fifth year in, I kind of started to wise up and play the game and do the right thing instead of trying to do the wrong thing and not get caught. I really, like you said something about the draft, and I play around that in my mind all the time. Germany still has like a selective service where they draft people. I know South Korea does. I think it's just the male population. But I wonder what it would be like if we were like those countries where there was a selective service and you got called in. Um, either you had to do like some civil service job, so it was like, okay, join the military, or join like some police cadet corps, or some other kind of public service. And since your parents are terrible at raising you, then we're gonna make you the military's problem. And there's pros and cons in both of that, but I tinker with that thought a lot. I really do. You have an opinion on forced service for American citizens?
I think we should pretty much do away with all of it.
Do away with
We
all of
should
what?
we should all selective service. I think we should withdraw from other nations and bring everybody back home, and that our military should be solely for national defense, not police keeping.
Hmm. I could see. So I feel
Or
like I
I
feel
should
like.
say
Go ahead.
peacekeeping and policing, not police keeping. You know what I meant?
Right. Okay, but that's not what. So I guess what I. So you don't think there should be a draft? Period.
Nope.
So we go to war with China. We're getting our asses kicked. We're sustaining heavy losses. Who cares who's invaded who? There's a war. How are you supposed to fill the ranks?
Well, if they're coming over here, that's what the Second Amendment's about, the armed militias.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if we're going over there, why?
Well, maybe they Pearl Harbored us.
Okay, and we can't just airstrike them.
Yeah, but you're not going to win a war airstriking. You kind of have to invade the country. It's kind of like, you know,
Why do you, what do you, what would constitute winning?
winning, probably capturing very important control points, maybe designated cities, maybe strongholds, maybe just occupying enough of the country to the point where logistically it is impossible for that country to continue. Because, like, Japan was easy. Just drop a nuke, drop another one, game over, right? Germany was a little different. Germany, we basically, obviously the Soviet Union as well, but you kind of choke them off to the point where they have no ammo, they have no fuel, they have no food. They can't do anything. So it's either, all right, will you surrender, or we're just going to steamroll over you. If you had a country like China, like, you can airstrike them, but it's just China's so goddamn big, man. Like, you would actually have to.
What was that saying about never entering a war in land war in Asia?
I don't know. Is that a saying?
Yeah, something like it. Just if we invaded China, that'd be the stupidest fucking thing. And if China came over here and tried to invade us on the ground, that'd be the stupidest fucking thing.
Is
They're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. If the war between U.S. and China is going to be economic.
okay. But for this example, because it's an extreme example.
For this example, if we're going over there and invading on their land, no, and we're getting our asses kicked, good. We shouldn't be there.
Mm-hmm.
We can take out prime locations and things like that without having to put troops on the ground. Plus the fact that there's how many billion Chinese citizens that would gladly take up arms with their when their government hands them AKs and says, go kill the white people.
I can't attest to the accuracy of that statement. I don't know. I don't know if Chinese people are just like, man, it'd be really nice if we had guns and then we could overthrow our government. I don't know if they're like that, or they're like, oh yeah, we believe everything the Chinese. I don't know. I just know that they can't openly dissent. So that kind of throws a cog in that scenario, because, like, if they could openly dissent, like if they were like Taiwan, where Taiwan's saying, we want rights, and USA, we want to be like USA. That's one thing, but nobody in China says that because it's like ending up in Siberia or ending up like those Muslim people, the Uyghurs. So I don't know. I don't know. I really don't. I just wanted to get your perspective on if there was a war and there were major losses. How do you feel about the draft?
Yeah, no,
I mean, and at this point, we can draft women too.
yeah, no.
No.
Mm-mm.
So now we're falling back on the Second Amendment, but the Second Amendment, and this is where I'm going. So would you rather have you have like a 9/11 thing going on? You would rather want to keep that war over there. Now, I'm not saying stay over there for 21, 22 fucking years, but you would rather want to take it
But that's what would fucking happen.
that well, I'm saying you would rather want to fight them over there and keep that shit over there, or would you rather just, you're living in fear for some city that you live in being hit by some terrorist attacks? Like that's, I guess, a good question, yeah.
Say again.
So would you rather fight in your country
Fight.
or fight in another country? Like a country
I'd
that
rather
is
I'd rather not I'd rather not fight anywhere.
sure,
And
me too.
I if we're going to war with China, I would rather fight here. Let them be the dumbasses to come over here and have all their troops get slaughtered
Okay, but you're
than
go ahead, I'm sorry.
rather than us going over there and doing just that.
But now you're relying on the fact that there's I guess I mean cuz that complicates things. So you have these armed militias, but none of these militias are actually working in conjunction with the other Blue Four. So you have the Air Force, Marines, you have the Coast Guard at this point, Navy, and Army,
And
and
National Guard,
right, but those you have the Naval Reserves, Army National
right?
Guard, Air Guard, but they're working. There's a combatant commander that's assigned so that they talk to each other. So the Air Force is on the same sync as the Marines, as the Army, even though they're all independent. But now you have these militias, and these militias are just going to kind of get in the way because there is no combatant commander. Like it's just that would be like you and all your homeboys that all have weapons and you're taking a stand and you may be getting it, you might get fratricide or you may commit fratricide. So I'm not knocking what you're saying. I'm just saying that may hurt more than help. And you guys aren't exactly trained as well as the military and you don't have the equipment, so you would be at a disadvantage considering if the country is brave enough to invade us, then they probably have some substantial amount of technology too. Like you just don't invade the U.S. with M1s, and steel helmets, and so they probably have night vision. They probably got drones. I mean, they got a lot. They got comms that are protected with crypto. So they probably got a lot of stuff. And these armed militias would be at a severe disadvantage for the fact that the enemy they're fighting is better trained, better equipped, everything, and they have a huge supply line too. So if they've invaded, they obviously have a supply line, and you're just a local militia, and then you might be getting in the way of like the actual blue forces on the ground. But going back to what I'm saying, I feel like if I had to go to war with somebody, I want to fight them in their country. I don't want our citizens being in the way. I wouldn't want to accidentally like I
You know
wouldn't.
what?
Hmm,
I think it's time that the American citizens see firsthand, what war is about.
hmm,
Maybe then they would not be so eager to justify it
or
or support the politicians that justify it.
well, or the other way around too, right? Because right now you have the thing going on with Hamas and Israel, and you got half the fucking country saying that Israel's the bad people. It's like, well, are they?
They're all bad people.
Wow, that was a little brash. Justify that stance, sir.
Oh fuck. So I mean, Israel's fucking with the Palestinians. The Palestinians are fucking with Israel. The media is complicit in trying to divide the country further. Um, we shouldn't be supporting any of them. We should take the leash off of Israel and let them do their shit. Stop giving them money. Stop giving Palestinians money, and just fucking, you know what? Israel can take care of themselves. You know, the reason they haven't like lain waste to a lot of people and a lot of countries that have been threatening them is because of us.
Mm-hmm.
And it would suck. There'd be a big war, and oil prices will go up, and yeah, but it's all bullshit, man. We shouldn't be involved. We shouldn't be supporting any of them. We need to take care of our own fucking house. That's the fucking problem.
Mm-hmm.
We need to take care of our own fucking house.
So when the U.S. pulls out of that sphere of influence, like we don't influence politics, we don't influence economics, uh, none of that. We don't. We take a very
Why do we care what influence we have over there? Why do we have to influence them?
well. We're not influencing. It's it's a little complicated, but if we pulled out entirely, I every country, not just the Middle East. For one, we get attacked by Iran, and it's going to take us a minute to get there and take care of
It'll
business.
take them a minute to get over here too. But so we get attacked how?
I don't know, dude. Let's just say the same thing. We have Iranian cells here in the U.S. I don't see a lot of
Okay, so
Americans.
so a terrorist attack.
Sure.
Okay,
So on one side, you don't have a lot of Americans immigrating to Iran. You have a few, not a lot, but you got Syrians, you have Pakistanis. You got a lot of people that do a lot of bad shit with the influence of Iran coming over here, and they launch a terrorist attack just like Afghanistan did. So, how do you fix that? You have no bases in Turkey. You have no bases in Germany.
there would be less chance of a terrorist attack if we stopped meddling in other states' affairs. If we're not fucking meddling in these other countries' affairs,
Mm-hmm.
they don't have the reason to attack us.
Okay, I I'm picking up what you're putting down, but what about your allies? So if your ally's dealing with some shit, you just be like, good luck with that, bro. Like, how does that work out for your alliance? So now you're essentially this one country, pretty great country, and you've just isolated yourself from the entire world. You're like, you know what? Britain, Germany, France, Israel, Egypt to some extent, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait. You know,
You can have mutual defense and pacts like that, but there's no need to fucking keep funding them. I mean, if a country can't take care of itself without us paying for it, why do they deserve to exist?
mm, maybe they deserve to exist the same reason you deserve to exist. Like,
The people do,
mm-hmm.
but the country itself,
So fuck the people. Like, cause if the government has no means to take care of its citizens, they just so
then
do.
maybe they should stop spending their money on other stupid shit and stupid programs.
I think it's a little more complicated, but in a sense, you do have allies, and that's not saying that you guys are 100% together, but like you guys both have interests, and you want to protect those similar interests. And if the country of Saudi Arabia, their interest is to um, pump oil, and our interest is to make sure people buy oil with dollars because that helps our economy. And the deal is that we protect them and Kuwait and Qatar and whoever, then that's the deal.
This all comes back to like the whole World Bank bullshit
Well,
and
I'm not going to go
central
that
banks and
far,
stuff like that.
but you
Yeah,
have.
but that's what it is. You know, it comes back to that and the establishment of a central bank and central banking system that the World Economic Forum is pushing and stuff. It's all bullshit. We need to let these other countries take care of their own shit. If they can't afford to take care of their military,
Hmm.
then cut back on other shit.
All right, let me give you one more example. So when we were fighting for our independence, there was a country meddling in Britain's affairs. So if we went by your same logic, we would be living under the Queen, and we wouldn't have a Bill of Rights. You would not have the right to bear arms. You wouldn't have freedom of speech. I mean, you see what I'm saying? Like, France helped us out significantly when it came to winning our independence. And France wasn't even fighting, they were just funding the war because they had an interest. They had an interest in, we don't like the UK or we don't like Britain, and we see what you guys are doing. And yeah, fuck Britain. You need weapons? Here you go. We're not going to fight your war for you. I mean, we'll kind of help out here and there, but we'll do our shit in Canada. We'll fuck with shit in Canada. Y'all keep it real down here. Here's some weapons. Here's money. Fund the war. So all throughout history, there's always been alliances. Whether there was like just people going to war together to.
Saying turn your back on fucking allies. I am saying those allies need to fucking pay for their own shit instead
Oh,
of expecting us to.
sure. I agree with you. I do. But when, Israel is. I don't know. When Israel's attacking people, but really they're. I don't. And you know what? I'll be honest. I don't know completely the history between Israel and Palestine, but I do know that Palestine did send a bunch of rockets over there, and Israel has been kind of defending and counterattacking, and it's been spun to where half the country thinks that Israel is attacking. This is what I heard. Israel is attacking Palestine like the white people and cops attack black people in our country. That's what I've heard from politicians and
The
people in the
the
streets.
land is back in the 40s. The nation of Israel was established. I think it was the 40s or 50s.
Mm,
Um, and took land that the Palestinians previously were living.
mm-hmm,
So that's why that hatred runs so deep. It's like Native Americans here, except just within the first 50 years, so to speak, of occupying and taking their land. So I understand that Israel has to exist, and the Palestinians need to exist, and everybody's fighting over like holy land and sacred spaces and shit like that. Fuck that shit. So anyhow, look at the time.
mm-hmm. Yeah, look at the time. Uh, well, I have possibly somebody coming on the show next week. Surprise. Possibly. So we don't get to listen to just the two of us bicker about who started, what war and which came first, chicken or the egg. But so maybe next week we will have a guest on. Darian, give us the final word so we can set sail for this thing called life.
We need to cease all foreign aid because foreign aid is all funded by taxpayers, and we all know that taxation is theft.
Shit. Well, thank you very much for that, Darian. For those of you watching the show, if you could go ahead and leave a comment, good and bad, whatever. Like, dislike, whatever. Share with your friends and family. Highly appreciated. And with that being said, I'm Jake.
I'm Drake.
This is Jake and Drake Show. We'll see y'all next week.